All right, guys, we got some news today in regards to the cornerback free agent market, which obviously ties into our desire and Jalen Ramsey's desire to get traded. So I'm going to go over the situation with Alexander to the Ravens, some quotes from McVay on Jalen Ramsey that directly ties to the situation, and I'm going to go over the top contenders and kind of show how this is playing out good and bad for both sides. All right, so that's the big deal for today, and I think it is. Right now, the GMs are all positioning themselves for the best deal. There's going to be back and forth. I think a lot of people expected Ramsey to go sooner, but that's what's going to happen. I think this thing's going to drag out a little bit, and it will be very interesting to see, and it could be a huge thing for this team either way. If you put Ramsey in the secondary, if he decides to play, it changes a lot of the evaluations, just like if you move off him. So that will be what I'm going to cover today, guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, and view. All that stuff keeps Curtis in the biz. I want to stay in the biz, so if you like what I'm doing, help me out with that. And if you're already doing that, I am very, very grateful. So I'm going to get into McVay's quote. It's interesting. It's typical with a franchise looking to wheel and deal with another franchise. I don't think it's a death sentence, but you can see that the two sides are now digging their feet into the ground, and the Rams were the most notable team for Ramsey to go to. So it does have impact. I wouldn't write too much into this, but clearly we'll see if Grier can cook or not, because other teams are looking to cook as well. So McVay said this Tuesday from the Maui for the team's mandatory minicamp. Speaking of Ramsey, usually those are scenarios and situations that you have to have plans in place prior to executing some of the decisions that have occurred, McVay said. Definitely don't want to rule anything out, because we're always open-minded to onboarding and acquiring quality players and people like him if we're able to do that. But there would be some obstacles that are real, that are in place of maybe preventing that from occurring. And obviously, Grier's got a lot at stake here. He invested in Ramsey. Ramsey kind of snubbed him to want to go. He spent a third-round pick, signed him for the long term. And so Grier, in a way, fairly wants to look good out of this deal and also get the best deal for the Dolphins, but so are the Rams. And when you look at the Rams, they are a top candidate for many reasons. Obviously, Ramsey played there. They love him. They need some cornerback help. They're not totally desperate, but they do need some help. And they have tons of money, 21.8 this year and 74.7 next year. So from a financial standpoint, they can manage it. But they might not be hog wild to constrict their cap and take a lot on board. And maybe just a few million here or there, haggling back and forth. Certainly probably trade compensation comes into play. They got Witherspoon at the boundary. They got Lake at the nickel. Williams is a guy who Ramsey could fit in. And considering how Stafford is getting older, or he wasn't sure if he was going to play, there's a little bit of this and that. They might be seeing their window of opportunity as being now. And so this is why Ramsey is a big deal. But there are all the guys in the market. And when you are a good GM, you're evaluating, I might need this guy, but I don't want to pay the house because there's always going to be tomorrow. We Dolphin fans found that out. We said, who cares about tomorrow? Just mortgage the future. And then when the future comes and you're not happy. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. They are still the number one target. I'm sure this is just back and forth, but it does seem like they fired a little bit here to say we've got limits. True or not, we'll find out. Now, Jaire Alexander, he's got the injury history. He's older. He's only played, I think, 38 of the last 66 games. I didn't want him here. We don't do well with injury history, and I don't think he's going to put us to the Super Bowl. But the Ravens went out and got him for $6 million, and it pulls him off the table. And in one way, it's bad because Ravens were considered the second best option to go for Ramsey. But it does take a quality player, although injured, off the table and leaves a smaller amount of cornerbacks that are top end for teams that are really desperate to make hay now in this window. But the team after that, a lot of teams are talking about, is the Cards. Cards could be another big player because they too have money available, but not nearly as much as the Rams. 29 in their cap this year and only 14 next year. And when you look at them, they got Johnson, who they drafted in this draft in the second round. He's clearly starting. They got Williams, who's a top nickel. Then they got Thomas, V Thomas on the outer boundaries, and he's not so good. And so, again, Ramsey would fit really well here. But do they see their window as now? I don't think their window, because Murray's younger and they're still kind of building into things. I don't think they're viewing their window as critical as the Rams. But they are clearly an opportunity for us to move off Ramsey. Then the Falcons. Now, a lot of people liked the Falcons, but the problem with the Falcons is they only have $5 million this year and about $5 million next year. Now, their wild card play is Cousins. He's tying up a ton of money. A lot of it got locked in now that they've kept him this far, so I don't know how much more they can offload. Clearly moving him off would open their books. But to take Ramsey on would force them to move Cousins, and I do think they're in a financial bind, so I don't really see them being a big player unless they get rid of Cousins. But so far at this stage, there haven't been many takers, and to bring a quarterback in with a huge financial tag, it seems unlikely at this stage. Could happen in the middle of the season. Or beginning of the season if a quarterback goes down. So I don't really see them being likely. Also, they got Terrell at a boundary, Hughes at a boundary. Those are pretty good cornerbacks. So it would leave Ramsey to take Alford's spot at nickel, and I don't really see them as a major players, although it could be a possibility. And again, we have to remember too, what if someone's cornerback goes down in training camp or something? It could change things. But I think that's why this Ramsey deal might drag out. Now, the last players, I see some people saying, I don't understand why, but I'll cover it anyway. KC. They've got to sign a couple of guys that are big. They might move off Kelsey next year, which free up some money. But they only got 10.8 this year and then negative 36. Maybe they see this as their window and they want to bring Ramsey on to go for another Super Bowl before they totally start rebuilding next year. But they got Fulton, they got McDuffie, Fulton at boundary, who's good. McDuffie at nickel is very good, and they got Watson at the right cornerback spot, who's pretty good. I just don't see this as an option. I think from all the rumors and stuff, this is one of the smallest possibilities. So now you got a team that was really hungry with a big window in the Ravens that have pulled it off, and you got a few guys in the background that maybe could be a replacement over Ramsey, and so there's some competition. But James Bradbury, 32, he might come cheaper, but it's probably going to be about $10 million. Kendall Fuller, we got rid of. I don't think we're going to want him, and not many people are going to want him. Too many injury history. Rasul Douglas, we talked about. His cap estimates are around $11 million. And so even if we sign him, it's going to be expensive. I don't know if we can afford it. Stephon Gilmore's 35 years old. They're looking at $5 million. And then there's Asante Samuels. He could be a guy that some of these teams might be looking at. The Rams might say, hey, I'd rather go with that than this huge contract of 25 plus. I don't think Samuels is going to get a massive contract. He might get a year to play and prove himself. There's no trade compensation. So Ramsey is sort of becoming a red-haired stepchild in this group for teams and organizations that are looking to be cap conscious and hold their capital together. And when you look at it, the Rams are still the primary player. But how deep do they want to go in this thing? And then maybe the Cards, but I don't know. To me, I think it's a negative because the Ravens were probably a prime team. They like veterans. They're trying to win now. And now that they're off the board, I'm a little concerned that this could become a quagmire and maybe Greer puts his foot in the ground, and now you got Ramsey kind of having to play here. The good news, like Al from 3 yards per carry said that he's got a lot of guaranteed money. He can't screw up or he's going to lose it. But Ramsey being disgruntled, there's ways that he can screw us without losing his money, dragging his feet, or whatever. And we've seen in the past that he's a very emotional guy and he can do a lot to get off this team. So we've got to move this guy. I don't know what the holdup is, whether it's trade compensation or a money compensation, but there is a stagnation here. And again, things could totally change with a few injuries. Knock on wood, I don't want to see anyone hurt in training camp that could make Ramsey's value explode. But right now, I think this is a holding pattern. I don't know if we see Ramsey move. I think they're going to open up camp, and Ramsey might have to be there. We're only about a month and a half away. So this is a big deal. We'll see how it plays out. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Is Jaire going to the Ravens going to help us or hurt us? We'll see. This is going to be a major issue, interesting issue. Hopefully it plays out well for us. Anyway, Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.